You ever notice how people's true colors come out when respect isn't in the room? I'm not talking about little slip-ups or bad moods. I mean those rude, dismissive reactions that make you stop and think, wow, this person never respected me in the first place. And the crazy part? Most of us ignore those red flags because we're too busy trying to keep the peace, trying to hold on to relationships that don't even honor us. But today, we're not ignoring it. We're calling it out. I'm breaking down rude reactions that instantly reveal someone never had respect for you. Some of these might sting, some might make you laugh, but all of them will make you rethink who actually deserves a seat at your table. By the way, if you enjoy deep, thought-provoking insights on Stoicism, self-improvement, and navigating life with wisdom, you'll love my free newsletter. Every Sunday, I share powerful lessons, controversial truths, and practical strategies to help you level up. All for free. Want to join? Hit the link below and start receiving value-packed content straight to your inbox every week. And if you're a brand looking to sponsor my content and reach a highly engaged audience, my email's in the description. Let's build something impactful together. Now let's talk about the rude reactions that expose the truth. 1. They mock your goals. You ever tell someone your dream, and instead of encouragement, they hit you with sarcasm, laughter, or that smirk that says, "Bro, you're out of your league." That's the kind of reaction that tells you everything you need to know. If someone mocks your goals, they never respected you to begin with. And the kicker? Most of us let it slide, thinking, oh, they're just joking. But trust me, behind every joke is a hidden belief. And that belief is they don't see you as capable. Let's be brutally honest here. People don't mock goals they respect. Nobody laughed at LeBron when he said he wanted to play in the NBA. Nobody chuckled at Steve Jobs when he said he wanted to put a computer in every home. But when it's you saying, I want to start a business, write a book, or hit the gym to transform my body, suddenly everyone's a comedian. Why? Because your ambition reminds them of their lack of it. Your fire exposes their laziness. And instead of clapping for you, they'll try to smother your flame with sarcasm. That's not friendship, it's subtle sabotage. I remember when I first told some friends that I wanted to start content creation. You know what one of them said? Who's gonna listen to you talk about self-improvement? You're not some monk or guru. Just focus on your job and stop embarrassing yourself. And they all laughed. At first I laughed along, pretending it didn't sting. But when I went home, it hit me. Why am I surrounded by people who treat my ambition like a comedy show? Here's what I learned. The people who mock your goals aren't trying to be funny. They're trying to keep you small. They're uncomfortable with the version of you that dares to want more. Because if you level up, it forces them to confront their own stagnation. And most people would rather mock your growth than face their own lack of it. Now, let's talk about applying this lesson. When someone mocks your goals, you've got two choices. Shrink back, laugh it off, and secretly doubt yourself. Stand firm, nod, and use that mockery as free fuel. Because nothing is more satisfying than proving mockers wrong, not with arguments, but with results. Silence and success are the sharpest comebacks. I'll give you another story from a guy's perspective. When I decided to get serious about fitness, I was out of shape, skinny fat, eating junk daily. I told a buddy I was hitting the gym 5 days a week, and he said, "Man, you'll quit in 2 weeks. Don't waste your time." That stung, but instead of arguing, I showed up. Week after week, month after month. A year later, the same dude who laughed at me asked me for workout tips. Funny how tables turn when results speak louder than ridicule. Here's the deep message. Mockery is just disguised fear. Fear that you'll grow beyond them. Fear that you'll succeed where they never tried. Fear that your life will expose their excuses. And if you let their fear chain you, you'll stay stuck exactly where they want you. Small, safe, and average. As men, we're conditioned to laugh things off, to not take insults too seriously. But sometimes, brushing it off is just self-betrayal. If someone consistently mocks your ambition, it's a reflection of their character, not your ability. Respect yourself enough to separate from them. Because real friends don't laugh at your goals. They hand you water when you're chasing them. So, next time someone mocks your dream, don't argue, don't beg for support, don't shrink. Just remember, mockery today is applause tomorrow. And when you finally make it, don't clap back with insults, clap back with undeniable proof. That's the sweetest revenge and the truest mark of self-respect. 2. They give sarcastic replies to genuine questions. Here's the thing, nothing exposes disrespect faster than sarcasm in the wrong moment. Sarcasm can be fun, sure, when it's banter, and both people are in on the joke. But when you ask a serious, genuine question, and all you get back is some sarcastic remark, that's not wit. It's contempt, wearing a clown mask. Picture this. You ask a friend, "Hey man, how do you deal with stress? I've been going through a lot." And instead of listening, he rolls his eyes and says, "Puffed, oh yeah, because your life is so stressful. Must be tough choosing between Netflix and your nap schedule." Everyone laughs, except you. You're left standing there like, did I just open up for nothing? That's not humor. That's someone telling you they don't respect the weight of your words. And let's be controversial here. Sarcasm is the coward's weapon. Yeah, I said it. It's the tool of people who can't handle honesty. So they hide behind "just kidding" whenever they stab you with a verbal jab. They think it makes them clever, but in reality, it makes them small. Because if you can't answer a genuine question with sincerity, you're not witty, you're insecure. I'll be honest, I've been on both sides of this. I used to be that sarcastic guy. Someone would ask me, "How do you stay motivated to work out?" And instead of giving a real answer, I'd say something dumb like, "Easy, bro. I just cry into my protein shake every night." Everyone would laugh, but deep down, I knew I was dodging the question because I didn't want to be vulnerable. Sarcasm was my armor. But here's the problem with armor. It doesn't just keep others out. It keeps you from being real. Now flip it. Years ago, I asked a mentor how he balanced work and family because I was struggling. Instead of guiding me, he smirked and said, "Balance. Oh, you mean pretending your wife is happy while you work 80 hours? Good luck with that." That stung, not because it was funny, but because I was genuinely seeking wisdom, and all I got was a cheap laugh at my expense. That day I realized, when someone consistently uses sarcasm instead of sincerity, it's not humor, it's a dismissal. So why do people do it? Simple, they don't respect you enough to answer seriously. They're insecure, so they mask their lack of wisdom with jokes. Or worst of all, they enjoy belittling you because it makes them feel superior. Here's how you apply this lesson. Stop laughing along when it hurts. Call it out. Next time someone replies sarcastically to your genuine question, just pause and say, "I was being serious." That simple sentence exposes the mask. If they double down with more sarcasm, that's your cue to distance yourself. Life's too short to seek advice from people who think your sincerity is a punchline. From a man's perspective, this is especially important. Society trains us to shrug off disrespect, to man up and not care. But let me tell you, there's a difference between being stoic and being a doormat. Stoicism teaches us to control what we can, and one of the things you can control is who you choose to let into your inner circle. If sarcasm is the only language someone speaks when you're being real, then guess what? They're not your circle, they're your cage. Let me drop a relatable story. When I first started taking my career seriously, I asked a friend if he thought I should invest in learning new skills or save my money. His sarcastic reply, "Bro, why bother? Just marry rich and chill." Everyone laughed. I laughed too, but later that night, I realized this guy had no interest in seeing me grow. To him, my question was a joke, because he never respected me as someone capable of leveling up. That moment taught me that sarcasm isn't harmless when it kills seeds of ambition. Here's the deep message. Sarcasm can water friendships, but it can also poison them. It depends on context. If someone can never switch it off when you're being vulnerable, they're not joking, they're showing you their lack of respect. Don't confuse entertainment with loyalty. The people who deserve your trust will know when to laugh with you and when to answer for you. So yeah, next time you hear sarcasm in response to your genuine question, take note. That wasn't a joke. That was the truth in disguise. And your job as a man is to decide, will you keep entertaining clowns or will you build with kings? 3. They mimic you mockingly. You ever notice how some people love to copy you, but not in a flattering way? Not because they admire you, but because they want to make you the butt of the joke. They mimic the way you talk, your laugh, the way you walk into a room, or even how you pronounce a word, and everyone laughs, except you. That's not playful banter. That's disrespect wearing a comedy mask. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a difference between friends playfully imitating each other and someone mimicking you mockingly. Playful imitation has affection in it. It makes you laugh with them. Mockery, though, that's poison. It's someone saying, "I don't take you seriously. I don't see you as equal. You're my entertainment, not my peer." Let's be brutally honest here. People who mock you in this way aren't trying to make you laugh. They're trying to shrink you. It's dominance disguised as humor. Think about it. Kids on the playground mimic each other to establish hierarchy. The one being mocked becomes less than. And some adults never grow out of that childish power play. From a male perspective, this cuts deeper. Men are constantly tested. Our ideas, our ambitions, even our masculinity. When another guy mimics you mockingly, he's basically saying, "I don't respect what you bring to the table. I'm above you." It's subtle disrespect, but if you let it slide, it eats at your confidence over time. Let me tell you a story. Back in college, I had this group of friends. I was naturally more reserved, not the loudest in the room. One day, I stood up in class to present, and afterward, one of them started mimicking my presentation voice in front of the group. "Ladies and gentlemen, blah blah blah." Everyone laughed, and suddenly, I wasn't the guy who gave a serious presentation. I was the punchline. That moment stuck with me because I realized these weren't friends celebrating my effort. These were guys feeding off embarrassing me. I laughed along that day, but deep inside, it stung. And you know what? That sting was my dignity telling me, they don't respect you. Here's the controversial part. People who mock you like this aren't just being funny. They're showing you their envy, because deep down, Mimicry comes from attention, and attention comes from recognition. If they truly thought you were irrelevant, they wouldn't bother to imitate you. Mocking is their way of disguising admiration as ridicule. It's twisted, but it's real. So why do people do this? Insecurity. They can't stand your uniqueness, so they turn it into a joke. Control. Mockery is a power move. It makes them feel dominant while you're left defending yourself. Envy. They see something in you they don't have, so instead of celebrating it, they ridicule it. Now, how do you deal with this? First rule: don't overreact. If you blow up, they'll say, "Relax, bro. It was just a joke," and suddenly you look like the problem. Instead, call it out with calm authority. Say, "Funny, but don't do that again." Deliver it with eye contact and composure. That single moment shifts the dynamic, because real respect isn't demanded, it's commanded through how you carry yourself. From my experience, the best revenge against mocking isn't clapping back with insults, it's owning the very thing they mock. If they mimic your voice, embrace it proudly. If they mock your habits, double down and let your results silence them. That college friend who mocked my presentation voice. A few years later, I started speaking in front of actual audiences. Suddenly, that same voice he laughed at was the very thing that opened doors for me. Irony's funny that way. Here's the deep message: mockery is only powerful if you agree with it. If you internalize it, it chips away at your confidence. But if you recognize it for what it is, a reflection of their insecurity, you take your power back instantly. As men, we've got to stop mistaking tolerance for strength. Letting people mock you repeatedly isn't strength, it's self-abandonment. True strength is calmly drawing the line and saying, "You don't get to play with my dignity." So next time someone mimics you mockingly, don't just laugh it off. Don't shrink. Recognize it as the disrespect it is. Remember, the people who laugh at you now often end up clapping for you later. And when that day comes, you won't need to mock them back. Your growth will do the talking. 4. They roll their eyes at your opinions. Few gestures scream louder than the infamous eye roll. You're in the middle of sharing your thoughts, pouring out something that matters to you, and then boom, they tilt their head back, eyes to the ceiling, sighing like you just recited a bedtime story. No words needed. That single move communicates, "You're wasting my time. I don't respect what you're saying. You're beneath me." Here's the thing. An eye roll isn't just a tick. It's disrespect wrapped in body language. You can say, "Oh, it's just a habit." No, it's an attitude. An eye roll is a miniature insult. It's the body's way of saying, "I'd rather be anywhere else than listening to you." And the dangerous part? It's often dismissed as harmless. But trust me, when someone rolls their eyes at you consistently, they're telling you straight up that your voice doesn't carry weight in their world. Let's be controversial for a second. You know why eye rolling stings so badly? Because it strips you of dignity without even using words. At least if someone disagrees with you verbally, you can argue back. But with an eye roll, you're left fighting silence. And silence always feels heavier. It's a coward's weapon. It's passive-aggressive disrespect that leaves you looking defensive if you call it out. And that's why people use it. They know it undermines you without them having to say a single thing. Now, from a male perspective, this one cuts deep. Men are taught from a young age, don't be soft, don't overreact. So when someone rolls their eyes at you, you're tempted to brush it off. But here's the truth. Tolerating it silently doesn't make you stoic. It makes you complicit. If your boss, your partner, or your so-called friend keeps rolling their eyes whenever you speak, they're not respecting you as a man. They're subtly telling you that your perspective has no value, and if you let it slide long enough, you'll start to believe it yourself. I'll share a story. Years back, I was in a group project, the kind where everyone's throwing in ideas. I suggested an approach I thought was solid, and one guy just rolled his eyes so dramatically, I swear his pupils almost did a full 360. The group laughed, not because my idea was dumb, but because his disrespect set the tone. For the rest of that project, I hesitated to speak up. Later, the professor actually praised the same idea when another student presented it in a different form. That's when it hit me. His eye roll wasn't about my idea being bad. It was about him needing to assert dominance by making me look small. And I handed him that power by going silent. So why do people do this? Dismissal. They don't respect your perspective, so they want to shut you down without words. Power play. Eye rolling makes them feel like the smarter one in the room. Habit of contempt. Some folks live in a state of cynicism. Everything is beneath them. How do you apply this lesson? Simple. Don't tolerate repeated eye rolls. Call it out, not aggressively, but firmly. Next time someone rolls their eyes when you speak, stop and say, "Do you have a better idea?" That shifts the burden back on them. Or if it's in a personal relationship, be direct. When you roll your eyes, it feels like you're dismissing me. If we're gonna talk, let's talk. Don't let their body language silence your voice. Here's the deep message. Disrespect often shows up in subtle ways before it explodes in obvious ones. The eye roll is usually the first domino. Today it's body language. Tomorrow it's cutting you off mid-sentence. Next week it's outright ridicule. Respect doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes in tiny gestures we ignore. As men, we've got to protect the weight of our voice. If you allow others to constantly roll their eyes at you, you'll unconsciously start rolling your own eyes at yourself, doubting your worth, shrinking your opinions. And once you stop respecting your own perspective, it's game over. No one else will, either. So next time someone rolls their eyes at your opinion, don't laugh it off. Don't internalize it. Recognize it for what it is, a flashing neon sign that says, "This person doesn't take you seriously." And you have two choices: either demand respect or remove yourself from environments that drain it. Because, here's the truth, real respect doesn't roll its eyes. It leans in and listens. And if you're not surrounded by people who lean in, maybe it's time to stop speaking to the wrong crowd. 5. They only speak to correct you. You know the type. You could be explaining an idea, telling a story, or even just vibing in a conversation, and they're silent the whole time. They don't nod, they don't contribute, they don't encourage, but the second you slip on one word, mispronounce a city, or slightly get a detail wrong, suddenly, boom, they spring to life. Actually, it's pronounced this way. Actually, that happened in 1997, not 1998. That's the only time they engage, when they get to correct you. And listen, I'm not talking about someone offering constructive feedback or genuinely helping you grow. No, I'm talking about those folks who live for catching you out. The grammar police, the well-actually crowd, the ones who act like you're a walking Wikipedia entry that needs constant revision. It's not correction, it's condescension. Let's be controversial here. This behavior doesn't come from intelligence. It comes from insecurity. People who only speak to correct you aren't smarter than you. They're desperate to feel smarter than you. Their ego feeds on nitpicking. They don't care about the substance of what you're saying. They only care about the spotlight of gotcha. It's cheap superiority, and it screams, "I don't respect your voice unless I can make it smaller." Now, from a male perspective, this one stings extra. Why? Because as men, society already tests us relentlessly. People measure us by how competent, confident, and articulate we appear. So when someone constantly corrects you publicly, it chips at that image. It's not just fixing a word, it's undermining your credibility in front of everyone. And if you don't handle it right, you end up looking small in a space where you were supposed to be standing tall. Let me give you a personal story. Years ago, I was sharing an idea in a meeting. I was passionate, I had the team's attention, and I was flowing. Then I misused a word, said compliment instead of compliment. This guy, who hadn't spoken for the whole session, suddenly jumps in. Actually, it's compliment, not compliment." The room chuckled. My momentum shattered. And here's the kicker. This same guy never contributed any ideas of his own. His whole existence in that room was waiting for me to trip so he could shine for 2 seconds. That's when I realized, some people don't want to build with you. They want to build off your mistakes. They don't want dialogue. They want dominance. So why do people do this? Ego. They feel powerless in most areas of life. So correcting others gives them a cheap sense of superiority. Insecurity. They can't contribute depth, so they nitpick details to seem intelligent. Control. It's easier to silence you by making you self-conscious than it is to compete with your ideas. How do you deal with it? First, recognize the difference between genuine correction and petty nitpicking. Genuine correction feels respectful. It builds you up. Petty correction feels smug. It tears you down. When it's the latter, don't take the bait. If someone actuallys you in a condescending way, respond with confidence. "Thanks, but you get my point." That keeps the power in your hands. Don't let them derail your flow for the sake of their ego boost. Better yet, stop surrounding yourself with people who only open their mouths to highlight your flaws. You want friends, mentors, and partners who add value, who sharpen your ideas, not scavengers who circle your mistakes like vultures. Here's the deep message. When someone only speaks to correct you, it's not about accuracy, it's about hierarchy. They don't see you as an equal, they see you as a project, a target, or worse, a stepping stone. And if you let their corrections dominate the conversation, you'll start shrinking yourself to avoid being wrong. That's how your voice dies, not in an explosion, but in 1,000 little interruptions. As men, we've got to guard our confidence like treasure. If you let every nitpicker steal a piece of it, you'll end up broke in spirit. Remember this: people who truly respect you will correct you in a way that lifts you up, not in a way that makes you small. The others, they're not helping you grow, they're feeding their own egos. So the next time someone only speaks up to correct you, don't get defensive, don't argue endlessly, and don't shrink. Smile, acknowledge, and keep moving. Because real intelligence isn't about being flawless. It's about having the courage to speak, even when others are waiting to pounce. And the truth, a man who speaks boldly, even imperfectly, will always outshine the one who only opens his mouth to say "actually." So here's the hard truth, my friend. Disrespect doesn't always come in loud explosions. It often comes in quiet digs, subtle reactions, and small behaviors that chip away at your value. Whether it's mocking your goals, rolling their eyes, or only showing up to correct you, these reactions reveal something deep. They never respected you in the first place. And listen, I'm not saying cut everyone off at the first sign of shade. Life isn't black and white. But as men, we've got to protect our energy, our confidence, and our mission. If someone consistently belittles you, mocks you, or only engages to shrink you, it's not a friendship, it's a cage. And the longer you stay, the smaller you'll feel. Here's the lesson I had to learn the hard way. Respect isn't begged for, it's enforced. When you stop tolerating subtle disrespect, people will either rise to meet you, or they'll fade out of your life. And honestly, both outcomes are a win. Now, if you've been vibing with this video, and you enjoy deep, thought-provoking insights on Stoicism, self-improvement, and navigating life with wisdom, then you'll love my free newsletter. Every Sunday, I send out powerful lessons, controversial truths, and practical strategies straight to your inbox, all designed to help you level up. The link's below. Go sign up. It's free. And hey, if you're a brand watching this and you want to sponsor content that actually impacts people, not just entertains them, my email's in the description. Let's build something meaningful together. At the end of the day, remember this: disrespect doesn't define your worth. It exposes theirs, and a man who knows his value will never let sarcasm, mockery, or petty corrections silence his voice. So stand tall, speak boldly, and stop explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place. I'll see you in the next one. Stay sharp.